You are watching Access LaPorte County Channel 97. Coming up next is the November 27th meeting of the Michigan City Historic Preservation Commission. You can find more information for this meeting at www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Call the meeting to order because I know a couple people have to leave with other things tonight. So as soon as Kyle is ready, he will call the roll for us. Would someone like to make a motion to accept our agenda?
I so move to accept the agenda.
Okay. Oh, saved by the bell. Do I have a second to Gigi's motion?
I'll second that.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same.
How are you?
Okay,
Approving the agenda. Okay, good.
we started without you, I'm sorry.
Barely.
So we can be safe today.
We just
Oh,
started.
no. Yeah.
And has everyone had a chance to look over their minutes from our last meeting? Any corrections or additions that need to be met? Can I have a motion for that?
To approve.
Okay, second.
I second.
Thank you. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Okay. We're going to do a roll call.
Okay. Joyce Dahl,
Present.
Dan Granquist.
Here.
Greg Coulter is here. Amy Bowman.
Here.
Dwayne Hurt.
Here.
Gigi.
Sure.
Thank you. Lauren Zimmer.
Here.
And Jonas Zimmer.
Okay. Okay, any correspondence that came in? Mr. Connell? Any correspondence? All right, we'll start with the C of A's.
Okay, the first one is 2023-093. Applicant is Michael Tracy, owner is Michelle Dickman. This is for 920 Franklin Street. It's contributing rated, the Valentine Diner, built around 1955. So the proposed project, we didn't have this on the agenda at the last meeting, but we're coming back with, Kyle and I have since made a site visit, looked at it, talked through a lot of things, still are thinking about a lot of things, but anyway, these are the items on there. So it's restoring the building using new custom fabricated metal and glass mounted to new wood sheathing, replacing structural members as required. Add a wood deck as shown on the application, upgrade and replace the parking lot, a new roof, replacement of the front door, installation of a walk-up window on the side of the diner, installation of gutters on the back, and painting the trim teal. And the paving and restriping the parking lot have already been approved by staff. So, moving on. So just to put this in perspective a little bit so that you understand why we say what we did, Kyle and I looked at it. There's basically everything will be replaced is what we're looking at. To look similar, very, very similar, but it would not be the original materials. So that's kind of where we're coming from, is I want to be really, really certain that what's there, none of it can be saved before we approve.
I agree.
Wholesale replacement. And so I'm not recommending denial of everything forever. I'm just saying maybe put the brakes on it and study it a little bit before we approve everything. So that's kind of my setup for what you're going to hear here. So finding a fact, the replacement glass in the frame should match the existing size exactly. The proposed glass frame is wider than the existing by a bit. It's unknown if a narrower frame is available. The proposed deck is at the side of the building. The proposed roofing material will not be visible from the street. The teal trim color is not original, but is acceptable for the period of construction. The walk-up window is at the side and minimally visible from Franklin Street. Metal panels should be retained if possible. Replacement should match existing. Stainless steel trim is a character-defining feature of the Valentine Diner and should be retained. The proposed cladding system has a different finish and would not incorporate the stainless steel trim. And I'll pass this around. This is the proposed cladding material. The original door should be repaired, retained if possible. If door repair is not possible, a replicated door should be created utilizing as much original material as possible. So for all the different portions, recommended motions for the roof is approval, rear gutters is approval, deck approval with final approval by staff upon submission of material and style. We talked about it, but we haven't actually physically seen the material yet. The walk-up window approval, it is a change, but it's towards the back and it helps with the functionality of the new use of the building. The teal trim color, recommend approval. The glass, recommend approval to replace. Final approval of the storefront glass frame by staff when we know what the options are for width. Exterior metal panels in the stainless steel trim. Recommendation is either to deny or to grant an extension of time to allow for exploration of repair possibilities. I have talked to the National Auto and Truck Museum to get some information from them. They have a Valentine Diner in their building that was rehabbed there and trying to make connections. And I'll tell you, with holidays, it's really hard to get responses. So I haven't heard back from them, but I did talk to Krager Smith, who's the preservation planner for the city of Fort Wayne, is also connected with this museum. He believes we can connect with somebody that knows about the work that was done there. So I'd like to explore that possibility and see what they did within that space. I know the owner has talked to Cindy's Diner a little bit. I'd like to see that explored more. And then I also reached out to the Kansas Historical Society, who, that's where Valentine Diners came from, was Kansas. And so they have a big thing about that. And so also trying to get information from them to connect and just see what those possibilities are. I'm not saying this is a bad material. I just want to be sure that there's no way we can restore what's there. So I don't know that, but that's where that's coming from. And then front door, approval of repair. If it's determined to be beyond repair, then a replicated door that reuses as many of the elements that are there as possible. So I've got some pictures if that's helpful.
That would be great, thank you.
Where does this go? Or do I need to
Are the owners-
connect the computer?
Good, thank you.
So owner and the contractor.
Oh. While you're doing that, can we ask a few questions?
Sure.
So for the owner, are you,
Where is Michelle?
Was it your intention to bring back the building as it was and to reflect the Valentine Diner? It was, that was,
We didn't want to change anything. We're trying to keep it, similar, but trying to get those materials is harder than planned.
there's probably some costs connected with it, and stainless steel, that makes you think, oh yes, there's dollars there. But that is your interest and your goal?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just thinking with some of the ideas that Deb mentioned about the windows and the door,
Well, that's
there would have to be some kind of determination that the window frames actually were adequate for the size of the glass, because I imagine those are pretty big glass panels. So while you may want them to be modified, they actually have to be able to support the loads, and there may be current wind loading factors or things like that. And I was also thinking about the door, because if it's a door that guests would go through, it's got to be accessible.
That-
And so not only does it need to probably have a little,
And that's,
a ramp of some kind to it, but that it would also have to be 3 feet wide and be able to be modified so that, you know, there's a maximum loading on it and things like that. So, you know, those things all have to be taken into consideration as it's modernized.
I'm not sure how we handle that one, actually.
What is that?
To widen the door to make it accessible with total.
Well, I mean, it depends on what exemptions in terms of ADA. I mean, there are some exemptions with historic properties as well.
Yeah, there could be, but you have to be able to serve people, and there's probably not a second entrance to the place, is there?
No,
Yeah.
The walk-up window.
the walk-up window, yes, but not to get into the building.
But so some people would go in to sit and dine inside?
Yes,
Okay. And there'd be a bathroom for people too?
yes.
Yeah, that's where it gets complicated.
So I guess that's something we'd have to look into, because that would definitely change the character. And that's one thing we could talk to some of these others, like Cindy's Diner in Fort Wayne is still in use. So somehow they worked around that. You know, maybe there was an additional door, I don't know. I'm not even gonna speculate, because I don't know how that happened.
They actually have an addition on their building too.
Okay,
That they
so
don't have to
that would
require.
make it accessible.
Yeah, the standards go up with if it's being renovated as
Right.
opposed to something that's existing and not being changed.
Right.
How wide is the door? Do you know by Jenny?
30 inches.
Oh, wow.
See, a wheelchair wouldn't go through that.
No,
Yeah.
no, wouldn't.
And are you going to change the access with the concrete in front?
Up till this point, the direction that we had gotten was that that would not be required. Michelle, as much as she's wanted to replicate the Valentine Diner, she's also gonna open a coffee shop that she's got a budget. And so trying to thread the needle between the costs that you mentioned with the stainless steel and the other things, anything that was said that we could not do, we took that option for cost.
Yeah, I kind of figured it. There's probably some reason that nobody's been fixing that over all these years. Cool as it is.
No, people are scared of it.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Has there been conversation with the building department about the door? Has Sue talked with you about that? Did she say whether that's all gotta be accessible or?
As long as we do not change the square footage, you can leave the bathroom and the door exactly the way it is. No ramp for ADA.
That bathroom door is pretty skinny too.
The bathroom is super tiny. But if we start changing the layout and making those bigger, then we have to change the doorway, we have to put a ramp, everything. So we are keeping everything where it was, down to the 3 basing that was in there. And that's what we were told from the inspector.
And
It
it
may
doesn't,
satisfy local standards.
it doesn't have to be ADH?
No,
But that may satisfy local standards, but just because you're a business, whether you'd be assuming any risk about that is probably a question you might want to delve into a little bit more. And there are always mitigating factors if you're
Right.
dealing with restoration of an historic building.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll show you here this, obviously the front. These first few were taken in February or so, I think. The side, so the walk-up window would be back here,
Yes.
correct? To the back. So that's where that's.
On the side or in the back?
On the side, but towards the back. So here's the front, around the corner, so this is looking towards 10th Street.
Inside of that second window.
right there.
to the rear.
On the rear?
Yeah, that one.
So that's where it'll be. That's what we got. So that's the back of the building. The skinny door went into, that was the only access to the bathroom, right? You had to go outside to go into the bathroom, like a real old gas station sort of thing. The other door beside that is going away, right?
2 inches.
It's super narrow.
And disencouraging you if you were heavy.
Yeah. So that door, Kyle and I talked to him about that and said we'd like to see that door left there, but just fastened in place. It won't be accessible from the outside anymore. Will be from the inside, but that door would stay there just to show what it looked like.
Decorative,
Yeah.
cosmetic.
The next door, the wider door, is gonna go away. So it's already gone, in fact, I think. And then that would just be sided over. That's the back.
Is this frame construction with this metal panel over it? Is that what it is?
No, it's completely fabricated of steel angle.
What?
It's like 3-inch by 3-inch angle.
That's
It's been
old,
welded.
older than me.
Like
So all
the
walls,
studs for the
ceiling.
wall?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yeah, they were all prefab.
Wow.
There are maybe, there's a couple of C channels, there's some flats, but it's all angle.
Wow.
Is, and by any chance, is there, these new panels that you're considering, do they have insulation in them? I mean, how are you gonna insulate this?
So they're insulated panels, and then we're gonna insulate the inside of the wall. The angles do provide, obviously enough structure. We will be building a lot of wood. and
Not
put
this
blocking
color,
in,
but that's the
and then
material.
OSB
And then they
around
fit.
the exterior, and then tie back and buff it all up.
And it would look like that,
After that,
But not that color.
we'll measure,
but white.
and then we'll bring our
Comes in
metal
another
glass system
color,
that's
comes in a
true
lot of
straight
colors.
front.
So, yeah, sit around and look at it.
She kind of touched on the windows, that's why it's 2-inch or 4-inch, it's got a thermal break in there. Yes, sir. And then the glass is 1-inch insulated glass, low E. It's an integrated, watertight
Don't close it, just close it on.
roof bar all the way down to the
Just trying to figure out how the panels.
holes.
It just slides in there,
Okay, sounds good.
just like that.
So if the panels slide in, there would be a visible channel between each.
Which there
Yes,
is now.
that
There is now.
replicates what's there now.
Okay.
Yeah, if you look,
That's not, that's not the
verticals
color.
now.
It's the same clear anodized.
Oh, yeah.
It was clear anodized aluminum. It is now.
So that's what that looks like. You wanna go back to the door, this front door.
Sorry.
This is the door, it's got this great little Valentine logo up here, it's got the model number and all that, there we go.
Cute,
Very cool.
so cute.
Serial number, all that. So, that would be an important thing to keep and put on.
And the brass
future
front
door.
turn and the push bar and the. So cute. There's some brass.
So you can see it's pretty racked right now, so it needs a lot of help. It is
Yeah, it's been just
not too true to the
abandoned.
world, but it's also an extremely distinctive feature. So it would, if it can't be fixed, it needs to be replicated, I think. That's just a huge thing. The hardware will be reused, hopefully.
If you were to make an effort to put in a wider door, what are the implications with this structural system or this?
Putting in a wider door that's made for the system is actually better. It's less expensive. A custom door that size is not made. That would have to be completely made from scratch by somebody.
But in particular, if they're replacing the door, that would be reasonable to be able to have a door that
A
would be
custom frame.
wide enough. I mean, does that interfere with the,
Dan,
It will
if the
definitely
city's not
change.
requiring it, I don't know why you do it.
well, there is a federal regulation for
But they're not,
compliance.
but they've already been told they don't have to do that.
Well, I don't know if someone from the city would have taken it. If you're satisfied, then I don't want to push it. I used to deal with this stuff, and the alarm bells go off in my head.
Oh, sure.
And I just know that because, and it's not just people in wheelchairs, but anybody who has difficulty getting around and getting into places, they want to go where everybody else goes, and sometimes when people can't, they get riled up and they sue, and so that's where the risk comes in. And if you just want to make sure that you've done everything that you can do.
Is there any chance of adding a new door in the rear that would meet our regulation? I mean, the accessibility requirements? I don't know what the layout
The
of the
only,
interior.
the only issue with that would be that it's a pretty small space, and to put a door in the back would create the need of, passage and everything, and so it would change the layout pretty significantly from what she has now. Very significant.
One of the things that I'm familiar with from dealing with the ADA regulations is that if it is impossible to bring something up to the standard which would allow everyone to have access, the providing the services in another way so that somebody isn't turned away and excluded is a possibility. And I realize that the drive-up window is an option, and the fact that some people can go in and sit and have their coffee is is unfortunate. But I mean, if that walk up, or is it walk up or drive up only?
Walk up.
Walk up. So if that window is low enough that that's accessible, that it's, sometimes things like that are done, yeah. You might want to still consider whether a ramp can be added at the front just to get up that one step, because even if it's not people in a wheelchair, there's other people who just have mobility issues, and it would probably be worth considering that.
Another concern I have is about the design of the deck and the railing, because now that's really adding something to the structure that doesn't exist. And I really think it's important for the design of the railing in particular to somehow relate architecturally to the design of the building. So I don't know what you have in mind for that. If we could see some kind of drawing. The deck I'm not so concerned about because that's just a horizontal plane. It's what we see coming up from that. What would be a design that would be complementary to the architecture of that structure?
Well, will there be a railing around it? Does there have to
I
be?
thought that's what it says.
It's yeah.
Okay.
It does. So I do not have the elevation rendering that I had promised last time. I should have had it, but I don't. I will. I have a cut of the railing, but I don't know how to replicate that. I'm not sure that there's, I mean, a 2x2 is a 2x2. What we've got is white, and it would look like a wood deck, with, again, the view being white that would blend with the color. But I've kind of thought about it, but I don't know that they were using anything different back then but paint and wood, other than for decking and railing and stuff. Maybe if we did like an iron or something that was a different material, but I would love to see what's been done. I had kind of chalked it up to we're a long way from building the deck at this point, and we can. I would like to see. I had heard about the other locations and the places that we can go to learn about what would work or what was done at the time when they were doing these together. I was hopeful that we might be able to get some ideas out of that. I've only come up with, like I said, a composite material that would be good for maintenance. It'll look nice, bright white. And I do have cut sheets to base on the rails. I was thinking more from the safety aspect and not from the aesthetic with the elevation. I was supposed to have that anyway. I apologize that I don't. But I can get that over to staff pretty quickly, this week. And then, beyond that, I'd like to see what they had, and then maybe we can come up with another idea for the railing there. If the one that I came up with,
And do you need a railing because the deck around is at a much higher elevation from the sidewalk?
Yes, so there's a slope there. Now, this, in about 2 feet, it raises about 12 inches, right at the end of that. Yeah, you see that there? So maybe that's not about right, maybe 4 feet, 6 inches, 7 inches, 8 inches, and 4 feet. And you've got that carve out there. It's a dead space. That used to be a drive-through. Now there's a tree in the sidewalk, and the drive-through's not an option. So what do you do with the area? It's kind of just dead, like right there. So we just thought that a deck on that spot that wouldn't even be accessible from inside. It would just have a gate that would push open right at that edge there. Can I walk up here? Excuse me. But just to run along the sidewalk, it'll clean up this edge here. And I was just thinking with white lattice and a nice, 2x10 ledger board, and then the decking material wouldn't want to be white, it would probably be black or a dark brown or something. White's hard to keep the floor, right? And then the white railings would come up, they're 52 inches high. Sorry, I'm a little late with those. But it'd be 52 inches high, so it's a nicer barrier that maybe could be decorated. It'll have a rail, so people that are sitting there will have a drink, and then it'll come up about 14 inches with another cross member. It's pretty simple, but like I said, I was hoping I could get something a little cooler. Just while we're right here, so I heard that this is, this is all gone. If we have to do these stainless steel pieces, these are custom bent angles. You gotta start with a flat, however wide, and then it's gotta be broke. And there's not a lot of those around that can break that decorative stainless steel, polished stainless steel, and do it right, and they're very expensive. These right here, these inside angles, you got some compound stuff. And then even here, so right here, this profile is 1 5/8, and we're at 2. They don't make it again, so now I'm gonna rip I could rip that down, but that's money, and now I blew the system, so I have to make sure, that I hit this right with my panels. I don't want to do it, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't know that I could warranty it. I could talk to somebody about some thinner profile stuff, but again, it's cost.
It's a complicated project.
We could clad these in stainless. Again, how far are we gonna take it? Because these are welded stainless steel. So now, if we're going 2 inch by 1.25 inches, and these gotta get welded by stainless steel welder in the shop, and then clad in the shop, and then shipped out. I mean, it's a lot more money. It's not like a little more money, it's a lot more money.
If you can find somebody that will do it.
Oh, I can do all of it.
Yeah.
But
But it's very time.
it's very time consuming, and I don't know if I can warranty it,
Well, you couldn't.
Right, well, again, I could talk to somebody, like there's ways to do anything, but it's expense and time. And doing something like this, because it's not rated anymore, that's why they're 2. So, it would have to be a different material underlying a different alloy. Like, you can do anything in the world, but
It's
gonna cost you.
Yeah,
of course, the coffee shop.
Yeah, but in the greater scheme of things, the dimension around the window would bother me a whole lot less than this kind of fencing around the building.
Yeah, I
mean,
agree.
This is completely foreign to,
She just, did everybody see that?
it's just because this is such a zoomy, futuristic
Great
type of
West.
construction. And these are kind of,
Yeah, just regular run of the mill.
yeah. And so what's the idea with the outdoor space? It's going to have seating out there, I take it, is that the idea? Anyone? Because I'm just wondering if the complication of putting railings in with something that is so slick, would it be possible to pull out the asphalt and put some kind of surface there that was flat and level, that maybe the barriers were at the edge with plantings or something that, something that wouldn't take away from it?
Why have a deck at all? I mean, why not just take that portion of the asphalt out of there where you want to have a sitting area and do stamped concrete with a red stain in it?
Gravel.
Or do red brick pavers and just pave it. And then keep it down at the level, because if you could go back to the color photograph of the way it is now, I see that there's like a red strip around the base. And I wonder if that couldn't just flow out into your patio area and not have any deck at all. You don't need any railing then. And then just to define the edge between the sidewalk and the sitting area, maybe just have some cool cylindrical planters with planting in them. And just use that as your barrier between the sidewalk and the sitting area, and you're done. We don't have to worry about deck, we don't have to worry about railing design, and it'll look just sleeker and not detract from the original building.
Well, it's fully accessible too, because when it becomes the really cool place to be, it won't be the people in the wheelchair so much as the moms coming with their kids in the buggies and
People aren't walking.
zooming in on the little scooters and stuff. And
I love patios. Sounds great.
yeah,
I think it'd be less trouble.
Yeah.
Probably would look better.
because this is really slick, and it's nice to keep it really slick.
I think it would take it, the deck would take away from it. It would be an eyesore. It would be odd,
Yeah,
out of place.
but otherwise, it's a fabulous project.
So about the colors, if you look at this, so they painted blue over red, and then on the bottom they painted red over blue.
Yes, it's the old pictures, it's opposite.
It's when the barber shop went in, it's when that all happened.
How did you
Before,
get you into trouble?
I know. I know. Well, I
good.
mentioned the car wash.
Yeah, other things.
Why did they want to get rid of it and then change the color?
Exactly, doesn't make sense, but
No.
teal was certainly a color back then, so
Right.
I don't think that's an issue.
Deb, was there an original photograph of the way it looked?
There is, it's black and white, it's correct,
Okay, so we can't,
We don't have the one, we have a color one, but not here.
not here.
what is that?
What is
that
it?
original color one
It's the red.
show?
It's the red band.
It was red.
At the top and the bottom?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
The neon is red, with red
Wow.
lettering, and then the top part is all red.
I think that's really cool. I think we should just go with that and just add to the way it originally looked. We were lucky to have that photograph.
Yes. Yes.
This was when it was being installed, so you see that truck in the back? That's what hauled it.
This is brand spanking new, huh?
Yeah.
Awesome.
That was 1956.
It's the corn one.
All right, this is a photo of the photo.
And the truck is over there to the left.
So,
The truck that installed it, yeah.
and then when the barber shop, you see the red all paint
I
on
see.
the top and switched it.
All right.
Are you opposed to red? Is that why you want teal?
So I did some research, and the reason I did teal is because it's supposed to, I don't know, it's something to do with like the aesthetic of a coffee shop and different healthier graphic
Subliminal
lines.
message.
So it was, yeah, I didn't just pick teal out of the hat, you know?
Okay.
And you'll put your sign up where it says M&M Diner,
Yes.
and what is it called?
So it's called the Brew Box, and I think I sent it to.
Yeah, you have the, we did run.
I have a, design.
Can it have the same graphic?
So it would be on both sides and lit up, just like the M&M Diner was, but it was the shape of like a
Coffee cup.
mug.
Okay.
And then it had the brew box. And it
Oh, we don't have that one.
lit on both
Because we're not on that
sides, and then
sign.
lit down the.
What?
Because we're not at signage yet, I did include it.
Oh,
That's right, but, no. Oh, I think it was.
That's cool.
No, but he's not.
Yes. Yeah.
He seems very knowledgeable.
It's like 22.
He's done some historic projects.
Approve 4 items, so you can move something along.
Okay, we have a motion. If we're listening, would you do it again, please, Dan?
I make a motion, as recommended by staff, to approve the roof, letter A, the rear gutters, letter B, walk-up window, letter D, and the teal trim color, letter E. Those 4 items I would move to approve at this time, and we can narrow down the issues here.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Wait, he's good.
I would second that.
Why don't we, you have something to say?
Not in the middle of your motion here. Sorry.
Still
I
discussion.
thought it was.
He's excited because he's never seen the original picture. So it's good.
As soon as the motion, I just, if I could make a formal request, just some kind of memo to the building department that clarifies that there's no hold on our interior and structural work that has to get done, because everything that we're talking about now is aesthetic and at the end.
Outside.
But it's,
That's the only jurisdiction we have no control over the interior,
Yeah, right.
so there's nothing to do with
That would
this.
be the
Building.
building.
yes, but it was cited by them that they wanted an approval of, like, it made it sound like we needed final approval on the final,
Yeah, Kyle can take care of that, I'm pretty sure, because
okay.
you need to move forward. He fell through the floor while we were with him, so we don't want to see that happen again. There is no
Was
floor.
demonstrated.
Yeah, so,
It's kind
yes.
of a dangerous place.
But in the
Nothing
end,
but
so moving the items along, I wanted to get at least the 4
Yeah.
that were
So-
approved,
Yes, sir.
discussed, and then we can address some of the other issues.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do I have a vote for everyone?
Just for A, B, D, and E.
D and E.
And then what would we do to C, F, G, and H are
That'll be another
extension?
motion or discussion later. But they're not being denied and not being addressed right now in this motion.
Okay.
Just
okay.
moving along.
Makes
So
sense,
all in
yes.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Okay, pass. Thank you.
So what are the remaining items then for next time? I don't have a copy of that, whatever we're looking at.
You don't have an agenda?
I have the agenda, it doesn't have the items.
The report from Deb, yeah.
C is deck, F is glass, G is the exterior metal panel, and H is the front door.
So, metal
Those are
panels,
left, either
door,
now or later.
It's on the agenda, number 6.
Well, the motion's probably aren't on the agenda.
No,
I know,
no.
but they're here too, you can see it.
Window.
So, yeah, you can
okay. all right.
decide if you want to approve or deny the deck. I mean, it sounds like you're saying deny the deck because you wanted to look at a patio instead, so that could be a
Yes.
motion.
Yes.
That doesn't make it so they can't do a deck later, right?
No, it just means at this
Okay.
moment in time, you're not
Okay.
approving a deck, so
On this,
either.
Okay.
on this application.
They could come back with the patio, or they could come back with a deck proposal and a drawing that they think you might like in the
Okay.
future. I mean, they could do that next month if they wanted to. You're just saying at this moment, you don't
We
have
want to
anything in
start.
front of you, you want to approve
Gotcha.
this deck.
So right now, we're
that's okay.
talking about the 4 items.
So that would be one, and then there's the glass and the exterior metal and the front door. So
Which are things that need further,
I think they need a little further
Yeah,
investigation. Yeah, not denying them forever and ever, just postponing while there's a little more investigation, I think.
Okay, we're all in agreement with that?
Well, the only
What's
piece
the
that,
construction sequence for you? If we don't approve the glass in the front door, does that stop or?
What was the glass question
The glass
that
doors.
was for discussion next
Can
time?
the frame be any narrower is the
Oh,
question.
so okay, the frame,
That was really the only
okay.
question on that. And that's just a
I mean,
question. really.
Yeah, it's not, it can't.
It can't.
No, without great expense and customization, possibly not a warranty. Yeah.
right,
Are you getting just a standard storefront window frame? Or
Yes.
is it-
Yes, that integrates with the panel there.
And what company are you using for that?
Which one's on there?
Well, in your box.
Yeah, it is.
So the metal panel company also does the glass, the glazing?
No, no, no.
Oh, that's what I'm asking.
Okay, so,
Who's the
no, so the metal
manufacturer?
panels are manufactured by Sonicor. It's a Citadel system. The custom aluminum extrusions, some of them are by the same company, Citadel, but I have to get some other ones from another
So
spot.
it's all a system, is what you're saying?
It is.
Metal panels and the windows, frames is all part of a system?
We're building a storefront system using components that are produced by different manufacturers to be used together in a system with,
this is.
you know, instruction and warranty of each as long as it's installed properly.
Right. So I guess what I'm not, what I don't think, I mean, we can do more investigating on this, I just don't see how he's gonna be able to replace, if he's gonna replace the windows, I don't know how he's gonna be able to salvage existing panels or vice versa. I think it has to be an all-together system if it's gonna work.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're
He's
right.
talking about insulating the walls, you know, putting a new vapor barrier, rain screen there, behind the panels. You can't do all that and try to salvage the existing panels. I just don't see how that's gonna happen.
I don't either.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some,
I don't think there's a whole lot more to investigate here.
It's gonna be a lot, it's gonna be hard even to keep that door. It's just gonna be, it's not gonna be impossible, but it's difficult and it's super time consuming because it's a non-approved
Right.
component to that system. And
Right.
there's no way around it. So we have to build the whole system around it and then try to make sure that we seal that really good. You know, it's gonna lose heat, you know, but it does look cool and it can be done. It's not the end of the world, so it's, yeah, you can do it.
You know, a part of the problem here is that you're, I think you're very well intentioned, but you're not real forthcoming with all of the detailed information that would be helpful for us to make a decision.
Okay.
So, I don't know, you're not working with an architect, I assume, right? Or a designer of some type who could put this all together for you as a cohesive whole?
Well, I will have shop drawings produced once I have a system approved. But no, I'm not an architect. We are not working with an architect. And it was, when Shaw was working with the city, discussing this before I was involved at all, she was told that it wouldn't be necessary as long as we could produce drawings that could be like shop drawing level approvals. I can produce those, I have, and some have been approved already. As far as a comprehensive drawing on the system, I can produce it.
Do you want to address the deck singly? Do you want
I'm happy putting the other 4 items in a motion just to, and with an extension.
Well, and we're asking for an extension then for what purpose? To,
Investigation, I would say.
so this would be agreeing with the investigation that Deb has recommended to determine whether the existing materials can be used, rather than scrapping them as Larry is suggesting, because it's very likely that even if they're reusable, they're probably deformed and can't really necessarily meet current standards for thermal value and things of that type.
Photographs, I mean, most of them are bent in some fashion. I just don't know how you could ever get them back to look.
Well, the whole front is missing.
It's just great metal over the plywood.
So I don't know what else we're asking them to investigate.
Part of the question, as I understand it, is that the material isn't like a 100% match.
Right.
So hoping to hear from some of these other Valentine diners to find a 100% match.
To see how they dealt with that situation on
They
other
did match
buildings.
So,
Because they still
So
retain the
is it the
material.
texture? How
So,
that one is a little rougher than what or is it the fact that mine's a panel?
I guess it's a different material. I just want to know how they did theirs, and I didn't have time to
Well,
find
that's
out.
just steel, it's like
Right.
060 steel over plywood.
Because some of it is not, I mean, the back stuff, right, isn't terrible, or wasn't, I
No,
don't
it's-
believe comparatively. And as I understood, the one at the museum was pretty bad, is that right?
I think they all were bad.
So, what materials did they use
so
to
I
go
did
for?
talk to the owner, the previous owner of Sydney's Diner when he had the fire. He had panels cut by a company in Milwaukee, Lurie panels. They won't come out, they won't come measure, nothing. All they'll do is take a measurement and send it to us. No inserts, nothing. So then, and it's not the same exact material, that's just who they used. You're not gonna find the same exact.
And that's typical. Anybody that does panels, just does panels, and they've got extrusions, they don't come out, they don't install, they don't fabricate, they don't do anything.
They don't have.
It's up to the contractor to put all that together, so.
I understand.
There may have been some different abilities back in, I don't know, what is this, 50s, 60s?
50s.
And I'm thinking of those houses that are over in Beverly Shores that are built with that square panel system.
Restaurants, yeah.
I mean, so clearly people were doing that kind of stuff, and I don't even know how one would put those together, but maybe there were some people who bought them and were able to roll them out because they put them together in a system and kept building identical buildings, which is what those residences are as well as this. So,
I guess the concern is just, we're a Preservation Commission, and we're replacing everything down to the angle iron practically. So that's the concern, is like, will anything be there, or how is it different from building a new building that looks like this, that's.
And we're not building it out in the city or the county somewhere, it's in the historic district.
Right, so I think that's the major concern, is are we preserving anything at all?
and would you be able to get information from the people who've done the others to?
I have been trying to do that, but to be honest,
She
that's
said.
not really my job, to be honest. I mean, I've made some contacts, and I think I can continue to pursue that until we get to a person that might have some answers, but
So you can pass that
I
information
can
on.
pass that along. It's not
Thank you for
really
doing that so far,
my
yeah.
job, so.
Is the product that you're gonna use, is it like a baked on paint finish on metal?
It is. It is.
It's not very
So,
good.
and what I was so the texture is different but that's been painted multiple
Yeah.
times, so I don't know what's
Should
the
be shiny.
paint and what's the, it'll be a little whiter than that.
So this is aluminum. There you go. It's aluminum with a paint finish on it.
There you go.
Okay. And we assume the existing are probably steel,
Yes.
painted
I would say
enameled
so.
steel probably.
They were not enameled steel, that there were earlier Valentine diners that were enameled steel, but it switched over the time that they made them, and so these were just metal, they were not enameled,
Just painted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so.
There were some of those Lustrons here in, Michigan State, I went to.
There's some in the port.
Yeah, and those are enamel panels,
Yeah.
yeah, so there's.
I have the same ring, that's why.
Oh, my God.
Okay, I think we need to move on.
And I just wanted to say to Deb, I wasn't suggesting that you would be doing this work for other people, but to satisfy your concerns, I think some of the rest of us are tending to think this.
And you are the commission, you're the ones who make the vote.
Well, we
you know,
appreciate your
so
advice
just
and knowledge,
what you
so
feel is the right thing.
that's the other thing.
Regarding the deck, I like Larry's suggestion about paving and not building the deck. What is the commission think?
Michelle, did you have something to add?
So the place that's sitting, there was a porcelain enamel on steel. So I don't know, I'm not good with construction material, I don't know the difference, but that's who Cindy's Diner used. Again,
That will be an entirely different system from what he's suggesting. It's a
And-
whole different attachment system and detailing.
And they will only do the panels and not the metal parts and come build it or anything. It's literally, and it's very costly for me to
Yeah.
say, hey, here's the sizes I need, and they're gonna ship them if they're wrong. It's on me. I mean, and that's a lot of money to put out and not have it done correctly and built by someone that knows what they're doing. I don't know.
And it's a cost factor there. This is less expensive than that system, and I'd make sure the panels were the right size, Michelle. Oh,
Still,
yeah, no, they would still be very expensive, but we can take care of that. But it would just be a lot more.
Jane, were you ready to make a motion?
If you want
Or are we just putting C, F, G, and H, the deck, the glass, the exterior, and the front door?
to make it simple for understanding and voting, just on letter C, deck, I would make a motion to deny the deck approval.
Okay,
I'll second that.
okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same? Okay.
Values F, G, and H. You want to postpone it? You want to continue discussion?
So if you're gonna just send Kyle or whoever at the building department, if you could, so the company that you wanna hire here is not gonna give you shop drawings until you actually place an order, is that correct? You
No,
can't place an order.
no,
until
I
you
would
get
draw
it.
the drawings. I would draw them. Shop drawings.
Are you sure?
I am.
Okay. Usually shop drawings are done by the manufacturer.
Well, so my family owns a glass company and they have drafting
Okay.
people. And so I would call my uncle and tell him I needed drawings and he would charge me money. I would
Okay.
pay him.
So you do that, and I would like to be part of the whoever is going to review those.
Great.
And
Fasteners and everything.
and I assume that they will replicate the existing layout of the panels as it
Yes,
is
sir.
now.
Two
Windows,
center.
and they're divided and all the joints and all that.
Yeah, so the Ts that are in here, you know, I thought it through and we do have the takeoff hand drawings that we've done in order to come up with our system. You know, the Ts are in here, receivers,
Okay.
right, 2 foot on center, and we do have the shapes and everything, but put them into a shop drawing format. So we understand we can do it.
Correct.
The only reason I would hold off is if I'm not gonna draw a bunch of aluminum panels if we're gonna do steel. You know what I mean, that's all.
Well, the layout's going to be the same,
Yeah,
regardless of what material is used.
it's definitely
So,
so.
I think
Are you
that's,
thinking that maybe we would want to go to steel or?
I don't know.
Okay, I really think this is not fair to everyone else here that's waiting, that we've already made one motion or two.
Two motions. You're right.
So, I would like to recommend that everything else just put on hold, as Greg suggested, until our next meeting. And then you will get something to Deb, and we'll go from there. And I hope everyone's in agreement with that, because we have two people that have to leave at
Well,
7.
we should formalize that with the motion to,
Yes, so
Give an extension, 30-day extension.
a 30-day extension, and who would like to make that motion since
I will.
Thank you, Greg. Second to that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Okay, thank you. Now we'll move along to our second one.
The second one is 2023-96 for Pamela Grant, 16 Spring Street. It is a contributing rated T plan, house built around 1900. The proposed project is paint the house Dutch Boy sand dune, and the trim in Sherwin-Williams brick red. That's a color that Sherwin-Williams has to match the window color. So, and the Dutch Boy, I failed to bring the paint sample, I'm very sorry about that. It really is, like it says, it looks like sand. It's just a light beige color. It's a very compatible color with the historic color palette. It's just from a different company. So the finding in fact, the selected paint colors are not from the pre-approved color palette, but they are compatible with the historic colors. Recommended motion is to approve the painting as submitted.
Move to approve.
Second, please.
Is the owner here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you want to say anything?
Nope.
Yeah. Should have done you guys first. Okay.
Yeah, we wanted to have it done before now, but I'm just gonna get in here.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same.
Who was that for the first? Who made the motion?
I did.
Larry did. Thank you.
Okay.
Start painting.
And now you're going to make it work.
Yeah, we'll go. Yeah, exactly.
Gonna get that whip
Won't
out.
be till spring.
Yeah, right.
We're gonna get a whip out.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, it doesn't matter, when I'm painting, I can get them done.
Yeah, he's
Good, good.
Well,
If that's all you want, then you're free to go. So
great.
you don't have to watch the rest of it.
So, we ready?
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you all.
You're welcome, take care.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
And finally, we've got 2023-103. Just want everyone to know we went over 100 COAs and we're only in November. That is a new record. So, go us, right? Go Kyle, who has been doing a lot of decision letters. So this is for 803 Spring Street, contributing rated Queen Anne American Foursquare, built around 1908. The description of the project: install white aluminum soffit and fascia were missing on the house. I'm very sorry, I don't have a picture of this one, but there are some sections where it just doesn't exist. Some does, some doesn't. We also want to install white 6-inch gutters all the way around the house and 3x4 downspouts. Finding of fact, soffit and fascia are missing on areas of the house. The house currently has no gutters or downspouts. Installation of gutters will direct water away from the foundation. Recommended motion is approval as submitted.
Okay, do we have any questions? Is anyone here for that house? Okay,
Well, I recommend approval.
okay.
second.
All right, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Okay, carried, thank you.
One more after this one. So I was checking our minutes, and it's been a month or so since since the lot behind 801. I think there might be a few people who would like to speak in regards to in terms of that, because it is that time again that year. we continue with that.
Fencing.
With the fencing or deny.
Yes.
So it's one of those things that I don't know if you wanna let them.
Who would like to talk?
I'm sure all three of them would.
Well, somebody needs to stand up, state your name, and
I stay with 803 Franklin Street. We would really ask you to please approve continued use of this fencing. It has done everything that we had hoped that it would do. The area, I mean, like when I got the phone call that the back of my building was on fire, that was not a good moment for me. And to go out there and one time I tried to leave my building and there was somebody sleeping in that back and I couldn't get through. And so it's so nice and clean back there now. There's no defecation, there's no urination back there, there's no food products and knives and whatever else we were finding back there. So we have really appreciated having that fencing and would ask to please have approval to keep it up.
If we approve on a temporary basis, what long-term plans or ideas do you have?
Yes, the theater, we discussed, I'm not really sure necessarily what the theater has planned, but we would eventually like to put, some fencing
Real
back
fencing.
there, I know, and we just, no, we never expected to have it be an encampment, so this is kind of all new for us, but right now we are definitely appreciating having, having a lot of those problems alleviated by having this fencing. Like, it's not a long-term solution, like years and years, but we, during wintertime, we especially are not going to be able to do anything permanent but
What do you have? Was this
and we only
a-
had very brief discussion about what our future plans were.
It was in at this meeting. This meeting, we would have to make the decision, so, I think, I probably would like to hear what they would say, but I think probably what staff would probably recommend would be to maybe a 4 months, so that would get us to March. And then, which should probably hold us through the winter, and then by March, things will start to warm up. We might start seeing more activity to figure out how effective the fence is, because I think winter, it's hard to judge, just because everyone is either at the shelters or they're elsewhere in terms of the effectiveness of the fence, and I think pushing it to, in terms of, if you guys were to decide on continuing, the fence, that I think March would, of a 4-month period, I think would be good, and then from there, I don't know if you guys would then think about then continuing it into the summer, because that's the only way we're really gonna know how effective the fencing truly is during the summers when we have you guys have those activities.
Yes, and the theater complied. I mean, I was so sad to see the lilac tree go, but they took care of he completely took away, the hedge and the tree.
What is the address of this property?
right behind 801.
It's behind Station 801 and where the farmer's market
801,
is, and,
Okay.
yeah, so Esther owns the nest.
Behind
and
801 and 803.
So I think we're not gonna know until summer, why not just extend it to
Yeah,
that time?
I 803.
Because we're gonna have to come back again and do the same thing that we're doing.
Okay, do either one of your other ladies have anything to add?
It's just seemed to be very effective. There's not a campground back there like there was.
Is that
Our president has checked it several times and he's said it
Really, we are
no longer
supposed to have any
problem.
fencing, and
I
so.
mean, right now, a lot of it is depending on how they deal with the
Is that
homeless.
a permanent? Yeah.
Because,
So there was a lot
of course, that's where the problem
There's a lot of
starts.
greenery back
Well,
there.
the sad thing is, the homeless are gonna go where they want. They've been that way for a long time. There's places they could go every night and they choose not to do
Oh,
that.
absolutely.
So we are not going to change that. We can just help the people that are there to get through it. So we need a motion.
Well, I'd like to say though, that temporary fence is really ugly,
It is.
right? So why, can we can we give them a time frame in which to
Yes.
say, we're gonna put up some kind of a more permanent, historically accurate?
I think that's what Kyle's asking us to do.
In the spring or summer.
Because you can't put a fence up right, well, you could, but
You
if,
really don't want to.
no, it wouldn't be, the post wouldn't be, nothing would be good.
So the question right now is if we want to do a 4-month extension to
Or
put
you
a
could
permanent
do
fence,
You
or
could do
6 months.
6 months,
Yeah.
and it's up to you guys in terms of what is extension, or if you don't wanna do an extension, and that's up to the board in terms of what you guys.
I think March is a fine enough time to put in a fence.
Yeah, I do too.
Okay,
Okay.
would one of you like to make that motion?
I'll make a motion to a 4-month extension.
Second.
Extension till the March,
Yeah, to talk
First
about
or
permanent
30th?
fencing.
And it would be the end of March. right?
Okay.
Beginning of March.
Thank you, yeah.
We get,
To meet at the March meeting, yeah.
Beginning of March.
could we get a recommendation what is acceptable to the board for a fence?
When you say historic fence, we need to know.
Yeah,
As I'm the treasurer, I would like to know.
yeah, for sure.
these
Kyle
things.
will get in contact.
yeah.
In the guidelines, there's a section on fence, and there's actually some pre-approved styles even within that, so that would give you some starting points at least.
And these guidelines are
Online,
Online?
City of Michigan City Historic Preservation Commission, I think it's
Okay.
with the planning page too, I think has a link to
It's
it.
also.
So there's a couple ways to find it, yeah.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Thank you.
So just to clarify, though, did we say the beginning of March then?
At our
It
March
would be
meeting,
end of March.
at our March meeting, which would be the end, towards the end of the month. It'd be the fourth, Monday of the month. I don't
So
have
you're
that
really
date.
at 5 months for the pricing.
Don't tell anybody,
December, January,
Promise
February,
not to.
March.
4 months.
at the end, yeah,
This
okay.
is the end of November.
Right.
So yes, 4.
December.
It's a leap year too, so there's that.
That's 4.
Okay, now if you want to give your allowance, please.
Thank you.
Appreciate your-
holiday, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Genius music and entertainers and very good. She's been good. She has been. So she's.
Reports?
Do you want me to go over maintenance, or are we just
Oh.
fine with just saying?
We're fine.
That's,
We trust you, everything's fine with that, Kyle.
If you're not doing your job,
You've done your job, I know. You did all of that, right?
we have no idea what he's doing, so. Bye-bye, thank
We
you.
know he's busy though.
Yes, he is.
Well, I mean, there was 4 roof replacements. So, I mean, that's.
It's pretty straightforward stuff, right?
Do you have anything that you'd like to say to us about your maintenance
I
report?
do.
Okay.
I think people need to remember they're in the historic districts, and that just because you start on a roof doesn't mean, that I'm gonna get to it when when they need it to be done.
You mean you can't do it on the weekends when you're
Well,
not
they
here?
can.
When you're not here and I have to let you know? I'm
So
sorry.
I think people just need to remember when they're doing work in the historic districts, even when it's maintenance work, you still need to fill out COs. Pretty much what I gotta say about that.
Yeah.
I get tired walking around catching people. It's exhausting.
But you're a good
It doesn't
catcher.
always happen, you never do anything about it, so.
Yeah. But he's a good catcher, so.
And he does things about it.
Yes, he does.
and to that issue, Deb has sent me some sample language for retroactive approvals
Right.
and providing some kind of penalties, so I'll be looking at that, and we'll follow up with some suggestions maybe for our next meeting or sometime.
Okay,
But
thank you.
just let everybody know that we'll be looking at that, and probably have to come in the recommendation from our commission to the city council for ordinance. So
And-
maybe we know some people on the city council that can help us with that.
There might be 1 or 2 people present that could help us with that.
Yeah.
And I think that's perfect because with the new elected officials, it would be good, so. And I thank you
Oh,
for
that's good.
being an elected official.
Anytime.
And you're glad it's over, I'm sure.
I'm so glad it's over.
I know. Okay. We have no committee reports. Any tabled business that we need to talk about?
No.
Okay. Any new business?
Is that me?
Poor Kurt has been sitting here.
Waiting for
Do you mind if I join you here?
He's thinking, oh my God, I'm not gonna get home until tomorrow.
Make copies of your business.
It might be tomorrow my time, I'm not sure.
I don't know if we sent these out or not, but this is a copy of Kurt's proposal. So you've got that in front of
Is
you.
all the same?
Yeah, should be.
Thank you.
I wrote the nomination on the Franklin Street District, and Paul Peebles actually is the one that really picked up on the Valentine Diner.
Oh, yeah.
And kind of honed in on that. That's the state reviewer and provided a lot of information that, I just was aware of. So it's a neat little resource in your historical district. While talking to Deb or corresponding with Deb, I said, I kind of prepared a proposal for Logansport, and that didn't move forward, but I used it for a kind of a basis of, kind of the types of things that you would want to do for a historic preservation plan. And so just kind of working with that framework or that outline, but modifying it for Michigan City, I came up with this. Now, that doesn't mean that this is all inclusive. If there are other things that you guys would like to see as part of your plan, I just made a quick note back there. Functionality of the HPC, that's not anything that I included at all in terms of, are there things that, you would like to see done in terms of like approval processes or anything like that. I assume that, Deb probably has you guys all, and Kyle has you guys all whipped into shape. So, you probably don't need anything like that. But I didn't know if any aspect of that, was something you were looking for as part of the plan.
That's not in here.
No.
What does this include?
Well, so this really is, this identifies, has you had a chance to look at this yet, or is this kind of the first time you're
I don't remember if I sent this to everybody
Okay,
or not.
all right. Well,
I'm
then-
sorry, Kurt.
I just read through it.
I'm
so-
No,
All right.
I don't think we did.
I apologize. I thought maybe you guys had seen this before.
They should have.
Okay, so,
Maybe training staff to be more functional would be good.
so it sounds like you guys have your hands full. On diners alone,
Yes.
So when, and let me just kind of frame this in context of Logansport, because that's kind of how this developed. So Logansport has a number of historic districts, a number of National Register properties, not a great deal of additional districts that they were looking to either designate locally or on National Register. So, just kind of use that as the context for how this was developed. What we've really looked at, and I think this would be true in Michigan City, is are there any kind of mid-century developments that happened in Michigan City that you need to have your eye on because they will be historic. And that's something that the state is, like over the last 10 years, is really kind of focused on. What are those mid-century developments and how are those being looked at, both in terms of the National Register and how they're preserved. So that's something that this kind of takes into consideration. What are the new resources that may be out there, districts, individual buildings? So that's kind of part of that field survey, conditions assessment. That was something that Logansport really was honed in on, was they had a number of specific buildings that they had historic preservation concerns on. And so the idea for that plan and what I'm recommending on this, because I get the sense that there's some of that kind of overlapping, is that field survey would look at, additional historic resources that you have that you might have concerns about in terms of preservation and use or lack of use. So that's what's kind of baked into phase one. So that's mostly kind of field survey work. And then if if you have like specific goals as an HPC for preservation in Michigan City or specific buildings, that's where, you know, we would have like a stakeholders meeting, and you guys really would be, because you would be my client, you would be first and foremost in terms of trying to provide feedback for that kind of stakeholder meeting. But then obviously, we have a couple of council members here, is that what I understand, or?
I will be.
You will
Give me
be.
a couple months.
He just got elected.
You poor soul. So obviously, we're going to want to partner with the city in this. So somehow we want to also pull in, you know, elected officials and appointed officials' perspective on things as well. Just because everybody needs to buy in ultimately, right? So that's kind of where that's at. And then basically develop almost like a draft of initiatives. You know, so that's in that first phase. And then that comes back to you guys as a presentation of findings then. And then phase 2, then we go back and fine tune that. So with your feedback and all the other feedback, we'll take that presentation to the public, get their input. You notice I haven't invited the public yet, only because I think it's important to get kind of like a very, the embedded kind of ideas of what preservation should happen, so that it's easier to present it to the public, rather than opening up the door, you know, which would be opening up like a can of worms, potentially. So that you have some framework, some basis to go off of when you take it to the broader public. Public input meeting, presentation, invite the stakeholders there, because you guys will want to hear what the public is saying as well. Logansport had that idea of a questionnaire. I think that's a good one. Right. They were going to host that like through their city website or something. I think, or
through their Facebook page.
Yeah, so
yeah.
I'm happy to prepare that. I don't have platforms to like really put that out there. So I think if Michigan City has a way to do that, that's probably what I would recommend, so that you're also collecting that from people that can't be there physically in person. But you'll get, you know, information on the questionnaire. And then again, coming back and doing a revised set of findings, assimilating all the public input, and then bringing that back to you. So assimilation of input comes back to the HPC for another presentation. And then phase 3 really hones in on how do you implement this. So it's 5-year plan, kind of a 10-year kind of casting a long vision of where you want to be, and then a, you know, public presentation. If there's additional feedback, then that's just fine tuning that plan, and then ultimately that final draft would go to you guys. And I've kind of talked through that. Really, it's about field survey work, coming back, boiling it down into, you know, what the observations are, presenting that to you guys, taking that back out, getting public input, bringing it back, boiling it down, creating a set of guidelines to move forward, or a preservation plan, taking that back out to the public, and doing one more boil down to come back with like kind of a final plan. I should have said that 20-second speech, you know, an hour ago, but that's kind of the idea.
I think we're all generally in favor of moving forward with these kinds of things. The 3 observations I would make is that we have no money, so it's not our money, it's going to be the city money, so we have to present it to the city council. However long that takes, once they get installed in January, so that's another month plus away for that. January 1 would not be a realistic start date, because they're not coming into office until then. We probably need to wait until the new council is in, so it might be February, depending on how long it takes to discuss it with them. And then thirdly, we'd have to adjust the form, because they'll have to have multiple signatures from the city council and city attorney review for everything and this kind of a thing. So, but this is the basic overall outline of things that I think we would be very happy to recommend to the council.
The January 1 date is not a start date. So that's a fixed date to say that the price is held for 6 months. So if for some reason you're delayed several months down the road to start, I won't change the price for 6 months. That's essentially what that is, rather than an actual start date. But I would anticipate it's like a 4 to 5 month process by the time you have multiple meetings and reviews and that kind of stuff. And I don't want to, that's the other thing. You guys are busy with your requests that come before you. I don't want to add a lot of review time to your plate as well, so I don't know if it looks like something a little different where it's a special meeting and you only do that.
And we might have to do that, considering tonight that.
I'm not gonna look at the clock.
Don't.
Think about the fact you live in Eastern time.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
You do too.
I do too, yeah.
Are there any grants or anything?
Yes, I was just gonna mention that, thank you, Dwayne. Yes, I would like to see us apply for a historic preservation education grant. That'll take care of part of it. And then, in the past, Kurt did all the National Register nominations for these districts that we work with all the time. And that money came through the Redevelopment Commission. And I have reached out to Skylar, but he wasn't around, and so it's sitting in his inbox. But talking to him to see if that's a possibility, which I really believe we could
He
do
was
something there.
encouraging that before, so.
Yeah.
Which I think would be.
Maybe the new council will give us a little budget to.
Yeah.
That could be too. So I think there's a number of ways we can go on that financing to get this taken care of, because this is, for all that we're getting out of this, I think this is incredible.
Well, and I apologize to Deb, I said, Deb, this is gonna be a lot higher than Logansport, but then I'm like, so much has changed and Michigan City's just, you just have more challenges than what
Oh,
Logansport.
yeah.
Logansport has its own set of challenges.
That's a difference.
I hope that's not going out online.
No, it will be.
This is a benefit to the city to have this kind of preservation.
Yeah, totally.
And I know we all,
Investment to the
That's
future
going
of the
on
city.
right now with the
Right.
double track and everything. I mean, this really needs
right,
to happen.
and I know we all just got it, and it was great with your presentation, but some of us are very old, so it has to sink in a little bit better.
But we're young at heart.
Yes, but I think this is wonderful, and I'm sorry we didn't have it sooner. We'll blame it on Deb, even though it wasn't her fault. Blame it on Deb.
That's why I jumped in so quickly. I'm like, well, do you have any questions? Well, yeah, what is this?
Yes. Read and see, because you see the date, November 1st, so
Yes.
you know it's been in my inbox for a while.
Well, what I would suggest, and I think that I said this last time I was here, take this, really mull it over. If there's other aspects to it that you feel like should be included, or things that you're like, oh, that just is repeating something, it's not as necessary, let me know. I mean, there's plenty of flexibility, to alter this, and it really needs to be customized to who you guys are.
I appreciate that.
May I ask, so once this is implemented, let's say 5 years from now or whatever, how does it change what we are doing here now? How is it going to change the function of what we do?
Well, that's a good question. I think it would give you a framework of reference for not just looking at, you guys are tasked with historic districts, but you guys are also the Historic Preservation Commission. So you have, in some ways, a broader role in Michigan City outside of the districts, in that you are the voice for historic preservation in Michigan City. So I think it might give you a path or a framework, and I'm not suggesting that you go and institute other locally designated districts, but it does give you, I think, a voice and a platform for which to voice your support or concerns for historic preservation in the long run, whether they're in local districts or not. If there are properties in local districts, it does give you, I think, maybe a little more teeth to look at specific properties.
Well, it could give us more structure, which would enhance the authority, say with the city council, whereby we might be able to get a budget, because now there's some structure to it. We've talked about expanding into what do you call provisional districts, or
Right, yeah.
That is.
Yeah, the
looking at-
conservation district type
Yeah.
thing, where at least we could deal with demolitions and additions and that type of thing, which I think is a huge first step in
It's a stepping
preserving some of
stone,
those
too.
areas.
Because I think the National Register districts, for the most part, overlay your local districts,
Right.
but not always entirely.
Right.
And then you have other sites that are locally designated, National Register designated that aren't part of your historic
Right.
district, like Washington Park. I think that's not locally designated, correct?
No.
So it does give you maybe a little more voice or a little more
Mhm.
muscle, maybe,
Yeah.
when things happen there.
And what would be an implementation strategy? What's an example of that?
Let's say, so in both Buchanan and in Clarksville, that would be, my frame of reference, because I did kind of a different type of version for those. In both of those locations, they wanted to start working through getting their districts listed, because they don't have a lot of National Register districts, with the idea that there would be funding incentives then to go along with preservation. So your tax credits and your historic preservation grants. So in those areas, we just laid out, okay, like Clarksville, they're just doing one a year, basically. Sometimes smaller ones are doing 2 a year. But they're working through that process. I think South Bend's doing that now, too. Yeah,
right.
South Bend was the reverse. They had all of their local districts in place, but they didn't have National Register districts to go with it. They had some, but, so that's one aspect of it. Another is, maybe there are some specific buildings that you have concerns about around the city or certain areas, and, just putting some, putting a highlight on those areas or those buildings might allow some investment dollars to come into those. Being very forward thinking in terms of development projects where tax credit ideas would come along. I think those are the types of things that I think you can kind of lay that out. So over 5 years, let's say you've got 5 different sites that are development opportunities that you want to try to preserve or get some attention drawn to. I think that a plan like this kind of helps in that general makeup.
Okay.
The other thing that we have to think about with this is how it would be presented to the city council, because I don't know if you do that or if Skylar does, but we probably have to be before them and tell them why this committee initiated that and wanted it and what was important, because I'm sure that this could not stand by itself. We have to go plead the case for it.
Right. Yeah, that's something we should be doing anyway, periodically, is getting our face in front of them and letting them know who you are and what you do, because I don't think a lot of them really know.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting it all falls on redevelopment commission, but they did feel like there was very important development project opportunities, and that's why they did those National Register districts. So I could see this being an extension of what they had done in the past. Just that kind of concept, because they did all 3. Plus, they did the feasibility study for Washington Park that I was part of as well.
Oh, that's good to know.
So,
yeah.
Anybody else have any questions for Kurt?
So what's our next step now?
Well, I think if we all have a chance to look this over, and like he said, anything we'd like to add or that we feel we need to remove right now, I think that was our number one thing to do. So at our next meeting, we can have something that we can pull together to give to Deb that she can forward on to Kurt, because otherwise we can either say yes or no and then later say, oh, wait a minute, we didn't want to do that, we should be doing this. So I think he made it very clear that we need some time to let this sink in and then evaluate what is suggested here. If somebody else has different thought on that, I'm open to hearing what you have to say, but I appreciate this, and like I said, just to look at it right tonight and vote, yeah, we're gonna do all this, and then later think, why didn't we add this, or why did we do that? We have to start somewhere, and I think this is where we start. Our next meeting is going to be December the 18th, because our next meeting would be Christmas, and I'm not going to. And I was told by Drew that we will be meeting at City Hall, because this room is being taken over by, I forget what he said, another group.
Urban Enterprise.
Thank you. Are you on that one, Larry? Okay. And they meet here on that. Pardon?
Is that just for that month or?
Yeah.
It's just for that month that we'll meet at City Hall, so, and it'll be still at 6 o'clock, just so everyone knows, but it'll be a week earlier than we normally meet.
I won't be able to come. That's Harper's birthday, so I'm out.
Well, that's not very nice.
Sorry, she's 15. She'll obliterate me if I'm not with her on her birthday.
Well, yes, I understand. No, I get that.
So, yeah.
My daughter didn't like being with her mom on her
No.
15th birthday. She wanted to be with somebody far more interesting than me.
Yeah, well, I'm taking her to Chicago for the weekend, so we're going to see Nutcracker and do some fun things. So, yeah, we're
So,
gonna be there.
everyone in agreement that we're going to look this over. Our next meeting, if we want to say we want to go right with all this, then like Gigi suggested, we will have to put something together to go to city council.
Yeah.
Because you're exactly right, and I don't know if you all remember this, but when we had the street lights that had the globes in it, and one day when you drove down the street in the historic district, all the globes were gone. They were taken down by the city council, and they did not tell us. When I went to talk to the city council, they thought we knew. So you're exactly right. They had no clue. And why was that important? I think they look stupid, but the only good thing is the company they hired to take them down had the fortitude to think to save them, and they are in his barn if they ever get put back up. So that was wonderful, but what a slap in the face. And
when was this? How long ago was that?
A couple of years ago.
Yeah, about 3 years ago maybe or something.
Pre-COVID, I'd say.
Yeah, right before, yeah. So, yes, we do need to let the city council know we are here, and why we're here. And usually when I go to their meetings, I sit to the back so I don't interfere, and maybe that's not good, so.
Yeah, there you go.
So, anyway, any other questions or comments anyone wants to make?
No, thank you, Kurt.
Well, I thank you, and you and Deb, please do not race each other.
We're going different directions, right? Plymouth and Goshen.
Well, that's probably a good thing.
Yeah, drive carefully.
Thank you. Any other suggestions?
Were we gonna do the getting the word out to the certified local government?
Oh, great.
I will just, you all got that message, I'm sure, today about sending your resumes in so we can add that to our paperwork that's going to go in for, we're applying for certified local government designation. So I have Greg's and Kyle's and Larry's so far, so if the
Greg,
rest
could
of
you
you
do
can
mine?
get those, I know it's a busy time, but really would like to have
I've
those
got
by
it, I
next
just
time.
have to decide which one.
Pick
If
one
you've
of
got an extra one.
Give one to me. Because I don't want to write one up.
The long form and the short form.
Very short form for me.
Yeah, so mine can be.
I haven't written a resume in.
All right, any other things that need to come before us?
No.
Call for adjournment?
Just a question. A while back, Greg, you had started blocking out that
Yeah.
flyer.
Do we want to talk about that or put it off? I'm fine putting it off.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I was just wondering if that was something.
Kyle, could you put that on the agenda for the next meeting?
Okay.
And our meeting kind of got out of control there for an hour, so.
Sure.
and
So I move that we adjourn.
All right, I have a motion, second.
I second.
All in favor? All right, thank you. Thank you, everyone, and thank the two of you.